Help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Please support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Thank you. I woke up that morning with an odd feeling of expectancy. It wasn't the familiar nervous buzz that usually comes with a birthday. Instead, it felt muted and weighty, like a shadow lingering just beyond my joy. My name is Daniel. I'm 34, living in Manchester, working exhausting hours at a logistics company, and still clinging to the belief that small gestures mean something in a marriage. My wife, Emily, had always been charming, effortlessly magnetic, but lately that charm felt more like a mask. And on my birthday, that truth was impossible to ignore. I waited for her to come downstairs. I imagined the scent of fresh coffee, a laugh, maybe even a simple happy birthday. Time dragged on. Noon came and went. No footsteps, no voice, nothing. My phone buzzed once. A short, impersonal message from her. Hope your day is going well. That was all. No effort. No acknowledgement. No words. I stared at the screen for several minutes, my chest tightening as disappointment slowly morphed into a dull, simmering anger. It wasn't about presents or celebrations. It was about being seen, about matching to the person you trust most. And Emily didn't see me. Not anymore. My mind drifted to last year, then the year before, the small efforts I'd made, the birthdays she'd overlooked. I had always told myself I was overreacting, that these moments were insignificant. But standing there that day, I realized they weren't insignificant at all. They were a pattern. A quiet neglect, subtle, cumulative, and suffocating. By evening, restlessness took hold. The house felt unbearably silent. Even the living room carried a faint trace of her perfume, though she was nowhere to be found. I pictured her at her favorite cafe, sipping a latte with a friend, laughing at jokes I once would have shared. The thought twisted something deep inside me. It wasn't jealousy, not quite. It was the awareness of absence, of being invisible in the one place you're supposed to belong. I poured myself a glass of whiskey. The amber burned down my throat felt strangely purifying. I considered calling her, demanding an explanation, but the words felt powerless, almost futile. She wouldn't listen. She hadn't in a long time. My fingers hovered over the phone before I set it aside, realizing that silence might be the only leverage I had left. By 9, I was pacing the flat, glancing at the door, imagining her walking in with an excuse, a playful smile, maybe even a rushed apology. But nothing came. Only the dull glow of streetlights filtering through the window, casting restless shadows on the walls, shadows that seemed to understand the emptiness better than anyone else. Eventually, I made a choice. If she could forget me, if she could ignore the day meant to celebrate my existence, then I would reflect that absence. I grabbed my coat, left my keys on the counter, and stepped out into the cold night air. No explanation, no warning, no drama, just the soft click of the door and the city waiting to absorb me. I wandered through the streets of Manchester, passing lively cafes filled with people oblivious to my quiet unraveling. I wondered how love could fade so gently. There were no explosions, no shouting matches, just a slow erosion of attention, care, and respect. When I found a small pub wedged between two brick buildings, I already knew the night wouldn't be about Emily. It would be about reclaiming something I hadn't felt in months, my own sense of worth. I took a seat at the bar, ordered a pint, and let the noise wash over me, drowning out the betrayal waiting at home. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed someone watching me. It was Claire, a colleague from work, someone I'd shared late-night jokes with during overtime shifts. She slid onto the stool beside me, smiling lightly, unaware of the storm inside me. "Birthday tonight?" she asked casually, curiosity lacing her voice. I nodded. "Yeah, seems like everyone forgot." Her expression softened. Not everyone. That simple sentence hit harder than I expected. Not for its words, but for what it represented. Proof that care, attention, even empathy still existed somewhere. For the first time that day, a faint warmth flickered inside me, briefly overpowering the frustration and shock. Hours slipped by. Our conversation started light, then slowly deepened, as if she sensed the layers of disappointment and longing I tried to conceal. Yet no matter how distracted I became, Emily lingered at the back of my mind. Her indifference, her absence, and the way it had reshaped my sense of belonging. As the pub emptied, I realized I didn't want to go home. Not to that silence. I settled my tab, stepped back into the cold, and walked deeper into the night, determined to claim the emptiness she had handed me. And in that quiet, on a birthday spent away from my own home, I understood something vital. Some betrayals aren't loud or violent. Some are silent, understated, and devastating precisely because they're so easy to overlook. And Emily had committed the quietest betrayal of all. The night stretched on, the city lights blurring into streaks of white and amber as I wandered aimlessly. Each step felt heavier, yet strangely freeing. I didn't call or text Emily. Her absence had become a mirror, reflecting how little I mattered, and I refused to keep staring into it. Not tonight, not ever again. Near midnight, I reached the riverside. The water was calm and dark, reflecting the faint glow of lamps from the bridge above. I leaned against the railing, letting the cold sink into my bones as the truth finally surfaced. I had been invisible for months, maybe longer, and I had allowed it, excusing every dismissive glance and every forgotten moment. This birthday was the final confirmation. A day that once symbolized joy and closeness had become another reminder that our marriage was fading into irrelevance. I thought of the small rituals I once loved: candles, coffee in bed, handwritten notes, all gone. And with them, my patience, my tolerance, my quiet hope for repair. I clenched my fist, letting the anger pass through me. It wasn't loud or explosive, just deep, cutting through the numbness I'd carried for too long. The pub had closed hours earlier. The streets were nearly empty, save for a few night wanderers and passing taxis. Then I noticed a figure emerging from the shadows. At first, I couldn't place her, but as she came closer, my heart jolted. It was Sophie, a university friend who'd moved back to Manchester recently. Always perceptive, always attentive to what others missed. "Daniel," she said gently, concern threading her voice. "I saw you earlier. Are you all right?" I hesitated, unsure how much to share, but her presence felt grounding. For the first time that night, the tension eased. I didn't tell her everything, just the essence of the pain, the loneliness, the feeling of being forgotten. She listened without interrupting, her expression compassionate, never judgmental. "Sometimes people forget because they're overwhelmed," she said quietly. "But sometimes they forget because they stop caring." Her words landed hard. They confirmed what I'd been avoiding. This wasn't an accident. It was emotional absence. Emily hadn't just forgotten my birthday. She had forgotten me. We walked along the river for a while, our footsteps echoing in the stillness. The city offered no answers, just space to think. And in that silence, I realized something even more startling. I wasn't broken. I wasn't diminished. I was awake. By 2 a.m, I made my decision. I wouldn't go home, not out of spite or pride, but because I needed to reclaim the night, the city, and myself. I wasn't running from Emily. I was moving toward my dignity. Feeling wanted, appreciated, and loved wasn't optional in a marriage. It was essential. As I headed back toward the city center, my phone buzzed. A message from Emily. "Daniel, where are you? I forgot. I'm sorry. Please come home." I stared at the screen, the familiar mix of anger and disappointment stirring. But something had changed. I didn't feel the urge to explain or plead. I felt clarity. I typed a single reply. Short, intentional. "Not tonight."